Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson and Madam Chairperson. You know, I came prepared for my 7 minutes, but I request for the clock to not be started just yet. Because I need to rebut the excellent Mr. Mani Shankar Iyer for his plethora of lies, particularly against me, but I don't want it to eat into my time. So it's a humble request. Moreover, it would only take me 30 seconds. Now, normally I would ignore Mani like the first and last slices of a loaf of bread. But today I want to make a sandwich out of him. Thank you. Mani, I'm convinced, was born to make Rahul Gandhi look good. To be sure, he raised some very valid points. Sadly, the spelling is R-A-Z-E-D. He has destroyed all arguments. Let me expose just 2 lies. Number 1, it wasn't Savarkar the first to propound the two-nation theory, but rather Sir Syed, 40 years before Savarkar. And the quote that Hindus and Muslims are two antagonistic races is in fact Sir Syed's, not Savarkar's. In fact, the first one to propound the two-nation theory was not even Sir Syed, but Mani's ideological god, Karl Marx, in his 1853 book, The Eastern Question. So much for reading history, Mani. Number 2, and this is a very easy lie to rebut because I'm sorry, Mani, I am not a professor of history in JNU, but a professor of molecular medicine. And I am right now involved in making a vaccine that would allow people to be immune against lies. So if you want, you can be the first volunteer. Can I now please request the chair to start the clock? Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful debate with a wonderful audience and wonderful adversaries who, and I say this in a lighter vein, can be introduced in 4 sentences. The first was kept in suspended animation by the Congress. The second has been suspended by the Congress. The third is itching to be suspended by the Congress. And the fourth is so sloshed that he can't even remember if he or he is not suspended by the Congress. As for the topic, I'm intrigued because this much emphasis on history, quite frankly, amuses me. Forget re-narrating. What in the first place do we mean by our history? You see, as a scientist, the time scale that interests me is not 100 or 500 or 1,000 years, but 1 billion or 5 billion or 10 billion years. And on this time scale, I'm not Indian, but Ethiopian. I'm not a descendant of a Ranganathan, but the descendant of AL2881 or Lucy. And I'm not a creation of design, but of a conspiracy hatched by thunder and lightning and water and ammonia and hydrogen and methane and dust. Let religion and its mesmerizing literature not fool you into believing you were created by someone who wasn't a product of the RNA world. And so nothing really matters, whether our ancestors were brilliant or not, whether our culture is ancient or not, whether our religions are better or not. We are but an inconsequential bunch of cells. Then why does history matter? It matters because, like science, it has to be built on an edifice of truthful observation and facts, because the correct understanding of it strengthens us, helps us survive. With a slight difference, scientists like black and white, historians love the gray. This gray has given mankind, I put to you, ladies and gentlemen, only misery. It is because of the gray that there are people who still believe in religious books, or in Mao and Hitler and Tipu and Godse and Churchill and Rhodes and Aurangzeb and hundreds more who have committed awful crimes, but the believers of gray have forgiven them because they also did some good. Gray is social Darwinism gone berserk. Gray has birthed cruel empires and believers of the gray have feted them. Worse, our history has been written by those who believe in the gray. Nations weaken not because of their past, but rather by how they are taught it. For 70 years, we have been taught to forget historical injustices. From Somnath to Kashi Vishwanath, Babarpur to Bakhtiyarpur, from Allahabad to Aurangabad, these injustices have deliberately been made visible as though to lionize the debasement, celebrate the humiliation. And the irony is that the same people who have taught us this, drilled this self-loathing in us, these very same people, men and women of gray, want others to fight historical injustice around the world. They condemn barbarians of the West, hitherto worshipped, like the Confederacy generals, Rhodes, Churchill, Pizarro, Murray, Colston, Leopold. They celebrate their roads and buildings being renamed, their statues being brought down. But here in India, they eulogize Tipu, Aurangzeb, Babar, Khilji. They celebrate the destruction of Kashi, Mathura, Ayodhya, Martand. Why? To me, the mark of civilization is this unquenchable thirst to demand justice for your ancestors, to correct a historical wrong. For that exemplifies a continuity, an idea, a memory that can never be erased. That is worth fighting for and preserving. It makes justice greater than the sum of its parts. And that is why civilizations are not fleeting like empires. That is why history is a medicine. Catharsis is a cure. If an image could speak 1,000,000 words, it would be that of the Gyan Vyapi mosque built atop Kashi Vishwanath, demolished by Aurangzeb. If orphaned stones could speak and not just weep, the stories they would tell of Mathura idols being used as stepping stones in a mosque, why shouldn't Mathura or Kashi be washed of the sins of the tyrants committed on it? But the Supreme Court has willfully ratified the Places of Worship Act that obligates maintaining all religious places as they were on August 15, 1947. In a just world, our Parliament and our Supreme Court wouldn't have done this. But they have. Why? Because we are fearful of learning our true history. There are hundreds of examples, but just one would suffice. Tipu Sultan. Read his manifesto, written in his own words. It is a terrifying proclamation calling for all Muslims to come together to wage jihad. Annihilation of the infidels is a sacred duty, he writes. The Hindus of Coorg suffered a particularly brutal onslaught. Murders, tortures, forced conversions, even dead Hindus were converted, even dead Hindus. He destroyed 800 temples, 27 churches, captured 60,000 Christians, converted 30,000, killed thousands. And yet we call him a symbol of communal harmony. We cheer when the statue of the evil racist King Leopold is demolished in Belgium. But the same we celebrate Tipu Jayanti because tyrants who murder Hindus and Christians are not tyrants but heroes. Let me make a more contemporary example. Our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. He cultivated this image very carefully of an upholder, a protector of liberty and freedom of speech, an image that is still peddled by his worshippers and historians and namesakes. But the reality is very different. Nehru was a tyrant, a ruthless oppressor of freedom. Did you know that under him the draconian First Amendment was brought in? That Majru was jailed for 1 year? That Stanley Woopert's book 9 Hours to Rama was banned? Did you know Chandra Mohini was banned? Audrey Menem's Ramayana was banned? Campbell's Heart of India was banned? Kostler's Lotus and the Robot were banned? Frischler's Aisha was banned? Bertrand Russell's Unarmed Victory was banned? Just 30 more seconds. Robson's film 9 Hours to Rama was banned. Robert Taylor's Dark Urge was banned. Mrinal Sen's Neela Akshar Niche was banned. Tony Hagan's Nepal was banned. Film Gokul Shankar was banned. Godse's Testimony was banned. Goswami's film Runumi was banned. Historian Dharampal was jailed. President Rajendra Prasad's speech was banned. Draconian Press Objectionable Act was passed. Magazine Cross Laws was banned. Play Communistaki was banned. Its actors arrested. People's Theatre Association was banned. Play Harpita Master was banned. Film Ganga Jamna was blocked. Balraj Sahni's play Jadoo Ki Kursi was banned. Tagore's play Visarjan was banned. Editor Prahlad Keshav Atre was jailed. Harmonium was banned. But hey, Nehru was liberal and protected freedom of speech and expression. To end then, history for us is either to be hidden or invented. We tell and retell what we like of it, and what we don't, we scrunch it up and slip it under the mattress as if it doesn't exist. For the victors, a quill to write history with. For the vanquished, the burden to peddle it. But we forget. We forget that history is not homeopathy. It does not work as a placebo when diluted. It simply disappears. Ladies and gentlemen, we owe it to our survival to be ruthlessly honest about our history. We owe it to science to make sure history doesn't disappear. Thank you very much.
तो गाइस वीडियो अच्छी लगी हो तो वीडियो को लाइक कर दीजिए, शेयर कर दीजिए। और आप ऐसे वीडियो और देखना चाहते हो तो मेरे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिए। धन्यवाद।